I don't know what happened. I was supposed to take her to the Fireflies and walk away.
Describing The Last of Us Part 2 as a game feels like at best a misnomer. Experiencing its ruthless world is certainly not an experience that I would describe as playing. There are mere glimmers of joy to be had in navigating developer Naughty Dog's latest grime-ridden post-apocalyptic cities, forests, or corridors. There are no branching paths at play, no choice system to make the player feel in control of what's to come. The Last of Us Part 2 is here instead to tell you a story. A gut-wrenching tale of revenge and repercussions, and it's here to make you go through every motion, whether you're happy about it or not. Through the course of my playthrough, primarily as returning character Ellie, I felt emotions that nothing in this medium has managed to elicit. Gut-punching grief, justified vengefulness, genuine regret, sweeping relief, ear-to-ear glee. Even jealousy reared its head. It's an emotional gamut that I wasn't prepared to tackle in a video game, even coming off of the roller coaster of emotions that the original The Last of Us turned out to be. Make no mistake, The Last of Us Part 2 is no slouch in any regard. Controls are tight and responsive, combat is absolutely visceral and ruthless, and it mostly works without a hitch. Clearing or stealthily avoiding a room full of infected or humans consistently presents a unique challenge that forces you to adapt, both to your surroundings and limited resources. Plenty of quality of life changes have been made from the original, and beyond being welcome, they also just make sense. Ellie is smaller than Joel was in the first game and is appropriately more agile. With the addition of dodges, jumps, dives, and more, you may not be able to take a beating, but avoiding one is entirely in your wheelhouse. If The Last of Us Part 2 had just been its gameplay systems, it'd be a genuinely great title in itself. But it's the storytelling at play here, and the accompanying performances that elevate not only The Last of Us Part 2, but the medium as a whole. Ashley Johnson and Troy Baker return as Ellie and Joel respectively, executing motion capture and voiceover deliveries that remind you why you fell in love with these characters to begin with. The Last of Us newcomers Laura Bailey as Abby, Stephen Chang as Jesse, and Shannon Woodward as Dina are phenomenal new additions to the cast, and complement the protagonists in truly fantastic ways. All of this is assisted along by what can be safely described as some of the best audio and visuals of the generation. I can't seem to stay out of the photo mode, as The Last of Us Part 2 regularly stuns, with not only gorgeous textures, lighting, and reflections, but also sheer cinematic beauty. Nearly every noise feels as though it has the appropriate weight and texture. It's downright gross at times how authentic every crunch, splatter, and pop sounds. I had toyed with the idea of waiting for some kind of PS5 enhanced edition of the game, but all I can say is don't. Much like The Last of Us was a benchmark-defining swan song for the PS3, its sequel is offering much the same service for the PS4. By this point, you've probably had a hard time avoiding articles describing the violence in The Last of Us Part 2. And yes, it's incredibly violent. After finishing, I tried to get back into Doom Eternal, only to find it cartoonish and silly by comparison. That's because the violence at hand here isn't accentuated by gallons of blood or gore splattered across your screen. It's given life by just how unsettlingly realistic it is. There's something much more personal and upsetting about watching the life leave an enemy's eyes as their friends and comrades call out for them by name. This is not an experience for the faint of heart. That being said, it's never gratuitous, and absolutely plays into the themes that Naughty Dog have sought to establish. I haven't stopped thinking about The Last of Us Part 2 since finishing it. It sat firmly in my conscience, making me wonder if the ends justified the means. I want to go back and replay it, and I know I will. I'll want to make choices that make me feel better, avoid more of the combat, try not to kill any of the dogs, take more time to explore the meticulously crafted world and find all of its secrets. But I know that when the credits roll again, I'll have the same feelings. I'll have experienced the same loss, the same deeply rooted sadness. Because the story has been told, and playing through The Last of Us 2 isn't about changing that. It's about being the messenger, and no other game since the original has given me that profound feeling. The Last of Us Part 2 isn't perfect. There are some screen tearing, texture pop-in, and pacing issues, but those minor issues are absolutely buried by just how incredible everything else is. This is a generation-defining title, and one that shouldn't be missed under any circumstance.